Alrighty, good morning, fam. Hope you guys doing well. Happy Monday, or yeah, another week. Let me get some fresh background music in here. So I'm gonna try my best to cut down on the copyright music. I actually asked ChatGPT recently, like, yo, help me out. What am I doing wrong with the streams? How are we supposed to grow? And it's actually like, stop cursing and stop playing copyright music. Who would have thought? But yeah, good mornings, everyone. Hope you guys doing well. Let me get this up in here. All right, we're all set. So full disclosure, I have no memory of like where we were last week. I've been sick for about a week, and this whole last like 8 days feels like a blur to me. Let me know if the background music's okay or too loud or whatever. But yeah, man, I've been sick for a week. I'm feeling fantastic now, and it's really good to see that Bitcoin's actually breaking out as well. So a couple doodles from last week, I think on CT is just kind of talking about the super simple stuff that you guys probably already know about, which is, anytime we're breaking from a range, you want to play momentum in that direction. If price deviates back into value, you look to trade to the opposite end, right? So last week was a big failed breakdown. The minute that we got this close, like down here on the 4 hour, my bias was we're probably going to fully fill to the weekly. And why is that, right? It's pretty simple, right? We didn't really test the daily trend as support the entire way up. The minute that we started dropping into this, we were crabbing. And then the mechanical longs that were coming in right at the 4 hourly 100 were actually pretty funny to watch. So as price was trading into this, I was just kind of like watching the 1 minute chart, and open interest is just like moving up as everyone's trying to catch their generational longs on the 4 hour 200. More longs were coming in right at the sweep of this low, and everyone got rinsed. When they got rinsed, when we closed down here, I honestly believe that we were going to trade down to the mid 90s, like high to mid 90s. The recovery that we got Thursday night, where we just started getting like this insatiable bid, like a bid that just could not be stopped. Like, look at these hourly candles, guys. A little bit of maybe edge leak that I have is I hate perfect retests. I've learned this from other people, other very wise traders, but I think the more and more we talk about it, the more and more well-known it's going to get. But a perfect retest to me are complete memes. So if this is going to fail, right, we're going to have to kind of front run these highs. We're going to have to start rolling over from here. When we start getting back up into these values, I have a strong feeling that it's just going to fucking launch right back up. And when we're getting into these areas right here, I think even like closer, I'm like, I got to start buying. I didn't catch the bottom. I didn't long this sweep. I was under the impression that the thing's going to probably roll over. But when I see that strength coming in, I can latch onto the back of it, and the recovery is pretty solid. So same exact idea presented. Same exact idea presented in the opposite end here, right? So when I was looking for shallow retrace held to kind of roll over, what's happening here for the bulls? Kind of exact same thing. You get an expansionary move outside of value, you get a shallow retrace, you're looking to play that trend continuation upwards, right? If you look at low time frames, you're coming right into like the daily VWAP. So nice triggers this morning. For those of you guys joining me from Paragon, you guys saw the outlook this morning. That was the first thing that I mentioned on the outlook was intraday plans, right? Look for price to retrace back into the daily VWAP. You know, if you guys are understand the meta by now, the pre-New York Open kind of longs tend to get flushed, right? So long weekend, we've been bullish all weekend. There's going to be volatility around the New York Open. What's the most obvious location to play trend continuation, daily VWAP confluence with shallow retrace, right? And then you can get your longs from there. So that's kind of a synopsis of what's been happening over this range, right? We talked about the failed breakdown. You guys have any questions? You know, the breakout and where we are right now. What I would like to see is from here, right? I'm not gonna leak too much. We gotta keep some stuff in house, but from here, I just want to see these values held, right? I don't want this to retrace back into value once again. If it does, the lowest I want this to go is like 1035, which is going to be the 4 hourly 200 here, right? Daily trend. I think this should be a pretty hard invalidation by now, right? If you get a retrace from here, I think these lows should be protected, and I think we should trade a lot higher. My bias at the current moment at 107.8 is we should trade up into 109, 110, right? I think we trade up a little bit higher before anything meaningful happens. The retrace this morning being protected is pretty solid. So I'm going to stop there, catch up with chat. I just had some rambles to get out as we start the stream. Happy you guys like the song. That's if you guys never watched House MD, that was like a goated show for me when I was growing up, man. This is before I was like in medicine even. Used to love that show and the intro song. Actually, I really wanted to be like House when I was growing up, man. The motorcycle that he has in the show, I think I've told the story on stream before, was the Honda CBR with the Repsol kit on it. And I loved that shit so much. I was like, when I finally get money, I'm going to buy that bike. So I got a little bit older, bought that bike, still have it. I actually left it at my parents' house. So I'm not really driving it in Florida, but yeah. Thank you for, you got me, Foxy Jackal. Massive attack teardrop. There you go. Don't know who's vibing with the emojis with me, but you're the GOAT. I didn't notice that, man. The emoji spam on YouTube chat. That's awesome. Cursing, especially in the first minute, is a big no-no. You know that the funny thing is, cursing is so just cemented into my vocabulary, like growing up an athlete and everything like that. It's honestly hard for me to, when I feel comfortable, right? I feel comfortable on stream. I feel comfortable in these moments to kind of turn that off. When I'm like around people in like a meeting or like meeting someone for the first time, like I'm not going to be cursing. But when I'm like comfortable, it's just going to come out. So I have to train myself not to curse a little bit. Shouldn't be too hard though. Yo, Stoic. This is awesome. Seeing Stoic in chat. First of all, congrats on starting the YouTube channel. I saw some of your edits. They look really nice, man. I'm happy to have you on the YouTube scene with us. We got to grow the CT presence on YouTube, man. We got to take over from the normies. Make sure to like and sub so Doc doesn't have to ask for it. All right, I won't ask for it. Preferred Scrubs, but House is pretty good. Yeah, I mean, completely different shows, right? They're both like medical shows, but one's comedy, one's drama. Can you please chart Titcoin? I'll do that later. So if you guys are new to the streams, the way I like to run these streams is do Bitcoin outlook, my thoughts for like, current price, go through, some nuances and stuff like that. Some weeks I share a lot more, some weeks I share less. It's just depending on how I'm feeling that day. Then we go through the majors, Solana, ETH. Sometimes I do, certain like little crypto indexes like Total 3 and then, Bitcoin dominance, ES and stuff like that. But like basically the leaders of the industry, go through those charts. And then, once I'm done, caught up with chat, I open it up to some like altcoin requests and stuff. But I don't want to lead off with that stuff. Pepe new all-time highs or what? I'm gonna actually talk about Pepe a little bit this stream. I've kind of been hinting some stuff about Pepe. I don't even know if I'm doing on the public streams, but I've been talking about Pepe a lot with the boys. I think it looks good. I think I discounted it a little bit. I'll share my ideas on why I kind of discounted the lows. I called the bottom in real time, but I didn't buy it, right? So what good's a call if you're not going to execute on it? Simply being because I didn't think it's going to be that strong this time around. I was like, you know what? It's been around for a couple years. It hit 10 billion market cap. It's probably not going to be the cooker that it once was. And, you know, shame on me for believing that or thinking that, because it proved me wrong, right? The tiniest ounce of ETH strength or ETH BTC strength, Pepe really, really showed out, right? And a lot of that is reflexivity, right? Off the bottom. Might as well show the Pepe chart while I yap about it, right? A lot of that's going to be reflexivity off the bottom, but a lot of that was off the back of ETH and ETH BTC being very strong, because this outperformed a lot of other memes, right? You didn't see Bonk perform this well. You didn't see, you know, a lot of like SHIB or Doge or anything perform this well, and I think a lot of that is off the back of ETH strength. So definitely one to watch for, right? If you guys have been following me or my tweets or anything on CT, you know that the Pepe's got tremendous respect. Let's put a lot up on the dark charts. Tremendous respect for the yearly VWAP, right? So definitely an area to watch out. I think I, you know, tweeted that out on Thursday night or Friday morning or something like that, right when we were kind of at those lows. So, you know, bet on that once again. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself with the stream, but since someone asked about Pepe, we'll talk about it, you know. Take over crypto with actual crypto knowledge. Yeah, man, we want to do that. We also want to take back CT. I'm kind of on a mission now to course correct my CT presence. For a long time, I've just been, you know, not really caring about crypto Twitter. You know, I kind of did what I needed to do, proved what I needed to prove, made the connections I wanted to make with people, you know, learned from the right people. And I think it's just, this place is for fun. But I think too many of, like, it's fine. But I think if too many of us think that way, the whole place just turns to crap, right? Like, we're all kind of good morning posting and slot posting and meme posting and just, you know, talking about drama. Like, how do you change it? You change it, you know, by setting a good example. So I'm going to do my part there, and I hope other people do theirs as well. Like, Magus has been on it. He's been sharing tremendously valuable outlooks and stuff for the past few months. So I'm going to, you know, take his example in stride. And Stoics here in chat, and Stoics always, you know, high signal, low noise. So, like, we want to bring that side of CT back. Do I trade ranges? Yeah. Thoughts on Sol midterm? Yeah, let's do Sol in a minute. Let me get caught up with chat. We'll do a real quick recap on Bitcoin, Sol, ETH, and then shout out to the sponsors, and then we'll get to the alts and stuff. Unrelated, but what's the source image for the thumbnail for the March 17th stream? The one with the baby scooter thing. Oh my God, you're going to make me pull up my own YouTube, because I don't know. Wusong, are you in chat? If my editor's in chat, he can tell you. He makes all the thumbnails, so I don't even know half the time what he's using. March 17th. Okay. With the scooter. Found it. No clue, bro. I'm sorry. I have literally no clue. I've placed a bet on Sol not touching 140 in June. Can you please TA for me? What are the chances of Sol 140 in June? Interesting. Yeah, well, like I said, I'll do Sol in a few minutes. James went from being multi-billion dollars to 18K dust positions. Leverage is brutal. I don't know. We don't want to talk about James Wynn, man. I think I yapped about James Wynn a little bit last week. I can't remember. You guys can remind me. I think I yapped about him last week, but basically, like, I want to root for the best. I want to root for the stories. I want to root for the fairy tales. So when that guy's, you know, running up billion-dollar position sizes, like, more power to him. Let this guy win. Let's root for the guy's success. But then when you lose it all in a 3% Bitcoin range up here, man, I mean, like, I don't even know. He lost everything right here. What? Like, how does that even make sense? Anyways, like, who cares, right? We're just gonna ignore that topic. ETH is the real Pepe beta, so just levered long ETH. You should do the BonkBot shitcoining stream. I mean, good idea. We're gonna talk about BonkBot in a little bit. I did a little bit of tinkering with it last night over the weekend. There's some cool features. They're gonna drop a lot more tomorrow, right? Dude, I'm actually like impressed. Like I partnered with the BonkBot team for the streams and stuff because like we have some mutual friends. I talked to a bunch of the team. I don't want to dox their names. I was about to. I caught myself there. And they just genuinely seemed like go-getters. Like I talk to people in crypto and they're always about like, oh yeah, we want, like they're thinking about marketing and launching and all this stuff. They're not actually talking about like, they don't show me how passionate they are about what they're actually building, right? I've talked to so many teams by now. And as you guys know, I don't take deals with like anyone. Like it's what have I taken since I've been in this industry for like 3 years? Like nothing, right? So they impress me. I want to work with them. They're like shipping, and they have a big update tomorrow, which I don't think I'm allowed to talk about. If one of you guys is in chat in the stream, you can let me know if I'm allowed to talk about what you guys are dropping tomorrow, but we'll cover that in a minute. Farcoin, of course we're talking about Farcoin. Missed the last thumbnail. Now we're not bringing back the the voluptuous girls. Thoughts on Tau subnet tokens like Templar? I have no idea. Okay, let's get into Sol. We're caught up with chat. So let's start with Bitcoin real quick. We'll do a recap for anyone who missed the opening of the stream. Just be kind. So big breakout right here, above our local composite value. I want to see this stick, right? My bias going into this morning, we can delete these doodles now. Had them on my chart long enough. My bias going into this morning is if a breakout's going to stick, we don't want to fully retrace expansionary candles, right? So if we want high time frame, or actually we call this medium time frame and low time frame overlap, what's the most obvious place to look for is the daily VWAP, right? Really clean triggers, medium time frame, low time frame confluence. So for me, anytime I look at breakouts, I think a lot of people are going to be, what's the button on the PC? Looking at this low. Hey, let's run this low. You're going to have the FVG people. You're going to have the single print people coming out and talking about this candle right here. And I don't, trade FVGs. I don't trade single prints or anything like that. I just use the simple concept that if a breakout's going to stick, you don't want it to retrace, right? So what area needs to be protected? Right around this wick, right? Whether we run this wick or whether we just, front run that low doesn't really matter to me. That to me is going to be a sign of strength. As long as the passive bidders are going to keep chasing, which they have the last like 12 hours, they just keep chasing price, right? The higher price goes, the higher they stack their Chad bids. So that's been super bullish for the market. From here, it's as simple as like buying dips, right? Buying dips with understanding that weakness will show up if we trade back into this value. If we trade into this, it opens up the bottom end once again, right? Very simple. Protect here. Be cautious on the perfect retest, because even if you get the perfect retest, it can sometimes set up for like lower highs. Full rotation back into value. You can trade to the opposite side. High time frame, we don't want to lose H4 200 at this point. In my opinion, I don't think bulls want to lose H4 200 at this point after this deviation. So let's move on to Solana. I think last week, again, like I said, I'm sorry guys, my brain did not work last week, so I can't even remember what I said on stream. But I think I was pointing out this high time frame weekly sweep into demand, right? So Solana, the shaded area is your 2024 composite value area. The majority, like 80% of Solana's time trading last year was spent in this range between like 120 to 170 approximately. So deviating the lower bound, trading up to the highs, right? Dropping back in, low into demand, sweep of that low into demand, really good recovery. From here, the medium time frame, meaning 4-hour charts and stuff like that, can be very choppy because out of the three, Bitcoin, ETH, and Solana is the weakest. So it's not the one that I want to be like actively trading because it's going to be choppy, right? But this generalized region on high time frame is very, very, very clean, right? So on a weekly chart perspective, if you guys have the kind of temperament to trade higher time frames and hold positions on dailies and weeklies, this is a very clean setup. This is a setup that I'd be taking on like the 4 hour, right? If it presented on like the 4 hour, right? It's just because it's a weekly, it's going to take much longer to play out, which caters to a lot of chop in this region. But nonetheless, it's something that we called out. I think I even called this out on CT. So very clean, and something that I want to be paying very close attention to. But once again, if you're bullish Solana, you're probably going to either take your money to Solana Beta, which would be something like a fart coin, or maybe the other L1 in the market right now that has all the mind share, which is Hyperliquid. So that's really where we want to leave it on Solana. Someone in chat asked about the trends. So yeah, the weekly trend is kind of flattening out, right? So I don't see a lot of respect for the weekly. Trading straight through it, trading above it, knifing right below it, right? I'm not going to use a trend that is flattened out like this as like a dynamic SR. So what's going to be more important is going to be the daily, right? So we come to the daily, which has been highly respected. We're coming into kind of a bearish retest of this region. Yesterday, I pointed out again that like if you're bearish, right? If you're thinking Solana is going to go to 0 or we're going to go to new lows or whatever, this is where you want to make that bet, right? You don't really want to make that bet at like 150 or 151 or anything like that. You're trying to trade at least a little bit into a premium or at least into like high time frame downtrend. So this would be the region to make that bet if you're looking for Solana to put in like a local top or anything like that. We're going to have to see how Solana trades and transpires in this area, right? So even if you do get bonked in this region, I do think as a bull, this dip would be for buying once again. That would be my current bias on Solana, right? This low should be protected. The next low that gets, set in this region, as long as Bitcoin is holding above the H4 200, I think is for buying on Solana. Hopefully that's all clear. Have you come on chain? Not yet, man. I have to. So here's the thing. Anytime I learn something new, this is how I think about things in trading. When I want to learn something new in trading, I know that I have to give myself time. I'm not going to be successful right away. I'm not going to be successful day one. I need to give myself a fixed amount of time where I'm going to say, all this time is going to be spent learning. I'm not expecting an ounce of profitability. I'm probably going to burn some cash in the educational process, right? In the process of learning. So time needs to be spent wisely in the market, right? If I have an edge in the market, whether it's trading intraday or trading trends or trading high time frame positional trading or whatever it may be, and the market is presenting me opportunities to attack that edge, I owe it to myself to extract that value from that area. There's going to be dead times in markets where markets are dying and markets are low volatility and markets doing whatever. Those are generally speaking good times to explore new things, right? Because, okay, the market's going to be shit for the next 2 months. Let me take this as an opportunity to add X tool to my repertoire, tinker with a new indicator, or tinker with this or tinker with that. So the current time being, markets are heating up, and this is the hard part about on-chain, is because when markets are hot, on-chain is hot, right? And you want to be on-chain when markets are hot. But also, for me, I have to be sacrificing things that I'm already good at to dedicate time to trading on-chain with no guarantee of success, right? So it's again, it's like I'm thinking like a trader. It's a risk calculation of, do I want to do this right now? Do I want to push it off? And that's kind of been, unfortunately, the mindset that I've had for like a year now. I thought about the same thing like a year ago. And what I actually ended up doing last summer was focusing on intraday trading, because again, I'm making a decision for myself, long-term and longevity in crypto, during this time span, that my work-life balance is absolute dog shit. And I've got to make sure that I can balance work and life. And the best way that I could do that is trading on a time frame that allows me to clock in and clock out, right? And then intraday allows me to do that. So that was my focus last summer. I'm sure I'm going to find a period eventually where I'm going to lock into on-chain and learn there, because I'm leaving money on the table for sure, not trading on-chain at the moment. Looking at VWAP on alts, do you look at the spot pair or perps? Perps, because perps are generally going to be more liquid on altcoins than spot. As funny as that is, right? So like, let me give you an example. Here's virtuals. This is the perp pair. This is the Binance perp pair, right? These are 1 minute candles. These are the perp Virtuals, 1 minute candles. Now let's look at the spot. Right, so when you're trading intraday, you want to focus on perp charts. You're trading perps anyways, right? You're not trading spot intraday. So you want to pay attention to perp charts. Well, Chuck, the BonkBot and the Bonk meme coin teams are different. They're not one and the same, right? So important distinction to make there. BonkBot and the Bonk meme coin are not the kind of same team. What are the pros of Florida? No state income tax, and I'll leave it there. On Bitcoin, do you think the 12-hour supply we're trading into now will be big resistance? I already gave all my thoughts on Bitcoin, so I'm not going to be looking at the 12-hour supply personally. I think you're thinking of this one right here. A little bit of discretion when it comes to order blocks, right? Let's do this. One sec. A little bit of discretion when it comes to order blocks. When you're trading, when you have a good amount of distance away from it, like we did here, right? We're trading down here. This is your order block. You don't really want to accept into them, right? You don't want to trade all the way in. And if you do, you want to leave a wick, right? So the fact that we're already like closing into this 12-hour order block here tells me bears are not showing up where bears are showing up, where bears need to show up, right? So if I'm trading this, right, on a 4-hour, right, and I see a massive 4-hour candle close into supply, I'm probably either, I'm just not going to be short here, right? Because I'd be looking for reactions as we approach the order block, and if we're in it, now I have to look for lower time frame clues for a reason to want to short in here. But like a lazy rule of thumb is like closing deeply into an order block or a supply region like that. If you're trading 12-hour candles and a 12-hour candle closes into 12-hour supply like this, you're not getting the reaction you want in the location you want, right? Same concept applies for like any point of interest, right? If you're looking for support, right, and you're just like, oh, this horizontal line is support, and you get a candle that just does this, are you just going to be like, I'm going to short, I'm going to short, I'm going to short, I'm going to short, I'm going to short? Or are you going to, or long, excuse me, in this example, I'm going to long, I'm going to long, I'm going to long. Or are you going to say, let me wait for something constructive to form, let me wait for a reclaim, let me wait for maybe a low time frame trigger down here. That's the way I think about it. For now, I've already listed all the reasons why we're bullish, so. Are you full-time crypto? Yep. Do you believe in alt season only if Bitcoin dominance breaks down? Only if this breaks down. The one time that I've allowed myself to say that we can have an alt season, guess where that was, guys? So many streams we talked about this. This was the one time I allowed myself to believe in an alt season, because I said, look, very clean level that Bitcoin dominance has held as support numerous times. This is our first test of that region. If we look at the monthly engulfing bearish candle, high delta candle, right? Choppy at the highs, resistance, right? Deviation, first weekly trend loss since the FTX bottom, 2 years. 100% I'm going to believe in an alt season here. 100% I'm going to want to push a little bit higher risk. And that failed, right? So if I want to believe in an alt season, something needs to structurally change, right? Once again, as long as we're in this regime and we're just doing this, I'm not going to talk about that. Right? I'm not going to talk about an alt season. Views on Farcoin, yeah, we'll get into it. So let me, like I said, let me do ETH. Let's talk a little bit about the BonkBot terminal, and then we'll do alts. I appreciate you guys' patience for the alts. I know a lot of you guys are here just to be like, Doc, look at my altcoin. I promise you, I'm not going to skip Farcoin. I have a Farcoin position, so I'm going to yap about it anyways. Depending on the exchange you look at, there's also way more volume through perps than spot. Volume on Kraken can be 10x for perps relative to spot. Yeah, it's generally true for altcoins, yeah. Excuse me if overly personal. What was it like maintaining a relationship with your significant other when you were trading 12 to 16 hours a day? How'd you act? Well, number one, my girlfriend and I are, I don't even know if I should be calling her girlfriend anymore. We've been together so long, but yeah, until we're married, I guess we say girlfriend. She's a hard worker too, right? She's goal driven, goal oriented, career focused. She has a job and a career. So she's focused up on that for most of the day anyways, right? She's not like, oh my God, you're working too much. We're not spending enough time together, right? So it's easy in that sense. We also have very similar backgrounds. I played tennis growing up. She played tennis growing up. Like we have very similar mentalities when it comes to a lot of this stuff. So we're pretty damn compatible. On a lot of fronts, and she's never been like, you're working too much. It's never been a thing. I think one of the things is when I was mentally not there, meaning hyper focused on crypto, it's fucking infiltrating my dreams. I can't think about anything else. My nose is always in my phone. We're out at dinners and I can't stop looking at charts on my phone. Those are things that pissed her off for sure, because I can't turn my brain off even for 5 minutes, right? That's stuff that definitely pissed her off. But even then she understood. She's like, I know why you're doing this. I know what your goals are. I know that, this is all for a purpose of a better life for us and, house, family, kids, all this stuff. So she understood. She didn't like it, but she understood. And the main thing that pissed her off was my drinking. I've talked about this publicly a lot, is like I was an alcoholic for a while. For a long time, right? And that's what I used to deal with stress of crypto, stress of everything. I even used it as like a sleeping aid, right? I couldn't fall asleep at night because my brain's thinking about shit too much. So drink and numb yourself and then fall asleep. And a lot of that I think pissed her off a lot. So but thankfully she was like a trooper for all of this. And now I'm 18 months sober? Yeah, almost. At the end of June, it'll be 18 months, I think. Where can I learn trade execution on the 1 minute for scalp specifically? You can learn it from me and Paragon. I have, scalping videos. Magus has it. Magus is, his framework and education is what I learned from. I'm sure Stoic, who was in chat earlier, has probably some information on it. I don't know if he does trading centric stuff or maybe it's just focused on analysis. I try not to read other people's stuff too much, but I know he's one of the higher quality sources in the industry. But yeah, I mean, I learned off from Magus, so I'm going to recommend him because that's where I learned. And then I've got some stuff myself. Would you invalidate Solana under the weekly order block or DCA lower? That's a great question. So I'm happy you asked that. So anytime I take trades, I always ask myself, where am I wrong? Right? And the worst thing you can do for like, what's a bad trade setup? A bad trade setup is one where the minute you're stopped, there's a better entry right below. That's such a tough place to position unless you get ideal entries. So what I would say for Solana is if you were able to buy something underneath this low. I didn't. I went for Pepe. I went for Fartcoin, right? These were the pickups down here for me. But if you bought Solana down here, you just simply make your invalidation. You can like trail it out in multiple ways. We get above the daily trend, you can trail yourself out underneath the daily trend, right? If we lose this market structure, you can trail yourself out there, right? You can make evolving invalidations as price goes higher. Or if you want to be super, super high time frame with it, you just leave it under the wick, right? Because you got a good entry, your stop's close by, you leave it under the wick. Therefore, you open yourself up to the idea that, okay, if we trade lower, I can long lower. If we reclaim, I can long higher, right? You make these game plans ahead of time, right? Especially when it's so tough to say, oh, I'm going to stop myself at 140 and I'm just going to abandon this thesis when someone else is going to come here and buy 127, right at range lows. So you got to have these multiple if-then plans for yourself when you're entering these trades. So you're not just like blindsided. Oh my God, this happened. What do I do now? I don't know what to do. I'm going to do nothing. Price does X, Y, and Z without you. It bounces off 127. You have no plan for that. It runs your stop and it reclaims. You have no plan for that. So an example for Pepe, I was long Pepe last week or whatever it was earlier this month, end of the month. I was long off this low, right? My bias was, let's see if these are still on here. I don't have it on here anymore. So I'm going to give you an example from an educational perspective. Okay, I don't want the full thing. One sec. I'm gonna long off the weekly trend and this high time frame level, right? High time frame level, which was, the Q1 all-time high from last year. I'm going to hope for the best. I want to reclaim of this composite value right low, right? I want to reclaim of these levels. I want to reclaim of these lows. We came up into it. I really liked what was transpiring here. We were flipping the 4-hour trend. When we rejected and had this candle, that's when I started closing the position. I was like, I'm going to take profits, right? Because I'm not going to full round trip this. I'm going to take some profits. And then the rest can, the market can close it if it wants to, right? I trailed myself out under these lows. We got down here. I didn't buy these wicks, right? Like I said earlier in the stream, I was convinced that Bitcoin's going to go lower. When Bitcoin started getting that bid, that's when I got back into Pepe, right? I had plans for myself of, if this happens, I'm going to do this. If this happens, I'm going to do that. If this happens, I'm going to do this. So it's just kind of like, don't let the market blindside you, and just have ideas for all of these things. And that's how I'm going to say it for Solana. It's like kind of the exact same idea. Good chance for new all-time highs this week, perchance. I'd say there's an okay opportunity for that for sure. Yeah, I 100% think there's an opportunity for that. How's Elden Ring going? Not bad, bro. To be honest, I think I'm like 10 hours of gameplay in. I'd never played a game that was like legit open world where like the game doesn't tell you what to do. This is no instructions. It's just like, here you are, do whatever you want. So I spent a lot of time in that first area just like going and finding and exploring and doing caves, and I beat that guy on the horse. One of my friends on CT was like, don't waste your time on that, and I kind of like took it as a challenge. So I was like, I'm gonna beat this guy. So I beat him, I got his weapon, and then I was like bummed out because apparently you can't use it until you're like level 20 or something like that. You need to like level up your character just to use the weapon. So I just went around, did random stuff, leveled up, started using that weapon, killed the first boss, forget what his name is, Margaret or something. Went through the castle, and I'm in the castle right now. That's where I'm at. Congrats on 18 months. Thank you, guys. Thank you. You're also 18 months sober. Congrats to you, sir. Yeah, Nelly. Good point. 100%. Yeah. I have a fat soul position, but it trades so heavily. Yeah, it hasn't been great. Like look at the pair charts, right? Like we need this soul BTC low to hold. Otherwise, it's just more hell for Solana coming here. Like it's just so much more hell for Solana coming in. Worried about the app tokens, alts, and Solana being more attractive to buy. Yeah, I mean, if you're bullish Sol, just buy Farcoin, buy Hyperliquid. That's kind of where I'm at right now. What are the requirements for alt season? Yeah, I went through this a couple minutes ago. Offer if you missed it. I think it's as simple as just Bitcoin dominance breaking down. We talked about this a lot with ETH BTC. ETH is the biggest counterparty in the market to Bitcoin. So if ETH BTC starts going sideways for a while and is able to actually put in a constructive uptrend, even if it doesn't go to here, even if it just goes to here, literally this will be alt season. Because ETH will put so much pressure on Bitcoin dominance. It'll force a Bitcoin dominance breakdown and go back in this market. Like all of these little moves have been extremely risk on for alts. Like maybe not all of them, but many of them have been extremely risk on for alts, right? How will this affect Farcoin? We're getting there, bro. We're getting there. No way you beat the Tree Sentinel? Yeah, I did, bro. That was a really fun fight. That was a really... You know who I struggled with more was the dragon, but then I found that you can get a horse. Then when I got the horse, the dragon was a lot easier. But fighting the dragon, I was like, what is this game, dude? There's a massive dragon on the beach. I'm a little guy with a spear, and I'm meant to kill a dragon. That shit was really hard. But then when I got the horse, it was like really easy. Have you tried Night Rain? No, I'll do that after I beat the Elden Ring. I don't know how long that's going to take me. How partially we take TP, so either market change behavior, we don't round tripped at all. Please give some tips. It's such a long conversation for managing risk for take profits, you need to understand the trade thesis that you're putting on. So if you don't understand how to take profits, what that's telling me is you actually don't understand the setup that you're taking, why you're taking the setup, where you're wrong with the setup, right? What you'd like to see. So it all comes together. I think the beginning that people get wrong, the thing that people get really, really wrong early on is they get involved with this. This is like, I'm taking an entry here, and this is my stop loss, and this is my take profit, and price will come up, 60% of the way, and they'll start putting in bearish price action, and you won't be able to recognize it, and then you fully round trip, right? You need to have a framework for why you're taking a trade from point A to point B. What would you like to see? What would you like to see? Is Bitcoin in an expansionary environment? Are you going to be able to break resistance on the altcoin that you're trading or anything you're trading? Or if Bitcoin's chopping around, it's probably less likely that altcoin's going to break out. Is your altcoin trending? If it's trending like this with kind of no resistance in the way, every time you buy one of these dips, let's say into the 4-hour trend, you want to be taking some partial profits at swing highs and leaving room for more expansion. Right? If during this price leg, you've got bullish 1-hour, market structure, when that market structure breaks on the hourly, maybe that's the point where you're going to get an hourly correction back into the 4-hour trend, right? So things like this is what you need to understand how to take profits. It's not so simple as like, I'm going to trade. How do I take profits to prevent round tripping? It all comes together with the idea of trade setups, right? You need to know what you're looking for. So unless I know how you're trading, what your system is, I can't really help with that question. It's so open-ended. It's way too open-ended, brother, for me to like give you an ABC, right? So if I knew how you're trading, I think it'd be easier to answer that question. Virtual close to the $2 level. Nelly, I think we need the daily trend to break. Okay, let me do this, guys. We're deep into the stream. I'm gonna go through BonkBot quickly. I'm gonna share some features that I find super interesting, and then we'll get back into it. We'll get back into the Q&A, and then I need to do alts. I haven't done ETH, and I need to do alts. We're gonna talk about. I didn't really finish the Pepe stuff. We're gonna do Fartcoin right after, virtuals, Sui, Hyperliquid. Right, we're gonna do all of these right afterwards. So let's pull up Brave browser. What's something that's super funny? Okay, you guys want to see something hilarious? So I actually input a whole bunch of people's wallets into the wallet tracker. So I think this is really interesting. This is not something that you do on centralized exchanges. So like, it's new to me, right? For on-chain trading, like watching other people's trades and watching other people's wallets is really funny to me. Can you guys guess who AN is? I'm going to give you like 2 seconds to figure that out. But I inputted a bunch of people's wallets, and right before the stream, I was going through this, and I saw a name that I recognized. So I clicked on it. I saw the size. It was like 45,000. And then I see these two orders, like an entry and an exit. So you can see in real time who's buying, where they're buying, what kind of trade they're taking. Is it an informed flow, right? I think this is really, really cool because the whole meta for on-chain is so different than trading perps. It's so different, right? You have new coins launching all the time. So I think like tools like this in real time to have people's wallets tracked, right? Have a list of like influencers or KOLs or people that push coins or trade on chain and see how they're executing, what coins they're buying, how they're buying them. Are they actually trading? Are they doing insider trading? Are they buying coins? And then two hours later, you see a big development and a God candle, right? Seeing that kind of stuff and figuring that stuff, it can be edge, right? If you find an influencer bought the bottom and then like 3 hours later, there's a massive announcement, the coin's up 50%. What are you going to do? You're going to be like, okay, how do I find their wallet? Let me track their wallet. Okay, they bought this coin. Let me tail that trade. And one thing that BonkBot allows you to do, you guys can see here, like these are coming in live, like 30 seconds ago, whatever. There's a button right here that says quick buy, right? So you can do it in your settings and you can set up like quick buy, and all you do is you click one button and you just tailed them, right? They bought something, boom, you clicked one button and you've just tailed their position, right? I think that stuff is pretty dang cool for like sleuthing through on-chain trading. So like I said, I got a bunch of people's like trades in here, the coins that they're buying, where they're selling, how much profit they're making. I think this stuff is pretty dang cool. You can manage this and add other people's wallets in here. And then the other thing I wanted to show you guys is I haven't seen this before, but you could filter launches by not only launch pads, but you can filter them by the funding that they're receiving, like where they're getting it from, right? So if it's like Alameda Research and you want to see what coins they're funding, or, you know, Bitfinex, or, you know, all these exchanges and market makers and whatever, you can filter by them and then only see the coins that they are like behind, right? That they're directly involved in, right? If they've gotten a DEX listing yet, or they're pre-DEX, right? It'll separate it by new creations, about to graduate, and graduated tokens. You can filter by market cap, by age, by volume, liquidity, all this kind of stuff. Top 10 holder percentage, right? So if you're like scared, like I'm not gonna buy this bundled scam where like 70% of the holdings are in like 2 wallets, right? You can filter by that, so you're not buying these things. I mean, I think it's so cool. And it's something that like I wouldn't know for myself personally if I wanted to trade on chain. I wouldn't know where to start, but the fact that all this stuff is in one place makes it easy for me, right? Because all of this, in my opinion, is early edge. And it's just like, if you, again, taking it back to like centralized exchange trading, 2-3 years ago, EMAs traded a lot cleaner. I'm going to remove this from the screen just from an educational purpose real quick. 2 or 3 years ago, EMAs traded so much cleaner than they do today. And why do you guys think that is? Right? Certain amount of people were controlling a bunch of flows, right? And they're bidding EMAs, right? And it's this self-fulfilling prophecy where if something works, a lot of people are going to do it. Every meta gets to a point where if enough people understand the meta, it's actually more profitable to inverse it. Meaning it's more profitable to actually cause a bunch of price action that is junky around EMAs versus price action that's super clean around EMAs, right? It's more profitable to push moves like this under the 4-hour trend versus keeping it mega clean, right? To trap people who set stops blindly underneath 4-hour trends. This is price action that's more and more and more visible nowadays than it used to be, because people like Pierre, who I learned from, and, you know, other trend traders out there have popularized 4-hour trend trading. So with on-chain right now, I feel like a bunch of this stuff for the profitable traders is like kept, like the alpha is kind of like kept, right? You know, it's not well known. And I think one of the things BonkBot is doing is like leveling the playing field. So it's giving you access to all these tools that like people that are profitable use. So you can latch onto them before everyone knows about them, and then everyone's using them, and then the edge is gone. So I think there's early edge right now. And the last thing I'm going to do quickly is, oh, it's in the bio. So if you guys want to sign up to this, there's like a wait list. But if you guys want early access and stuff to the beta and all the features that are coming out little by little by little, as well as like fee discounts and stuff, there's a link in the bio below with the like @DocXPT in there, and that'll get you guys whitelisted for the BonkBot terminal. And you guys will be on there before other people. So check that out. I think there's edge there. And once again, I appreciate BonkBot for, you know, partnering and helping out the stream, man. Super cool and super humbling for me to work with such a cool team. But yeah, if you want to sign up, like literally in the bio of this stream, I'm not gonna paste it on here, but literally in the bio of the stream, it'll say BonkBot terminal, and it'll say like, you know, bonkbot.com/docxpt. That's the one that you want. It'll get you on here so you guys can get access to all this cool shit. But super interesting, man. Tomorrow they'll have updates, and we'll share some more new features next week. Okay. Let's get into alts. Base ecosystem? No, not interested, man. What was it like being addicted to alcohol? I was a functioning alcoholic, man. What did it do to your mental and physical health? I got fat. Gained like 30 pounds over, not 30, 25 pounds over like 3 years. Because I'm sitting in a chair 18 hours a day and just adding calories by drinking. Mental health, sleep was terrible. I had anxiety, palpitations, night sweats. It was just bad, right? It's just like everything you think about, right? My skin was terrible, like bags under my eyes. Like I just didn't look healthy. Do you think it's possible we see mid 90s for Bitcoin, or more likely we send straight beyond all-time highs? This is a great question, man. I can't predict, and I make no money in prediction. I make money in reaction, right? So let me take you guys back into, again, how do I view this market? When I see breakdowns, I assume continuation. When I see reclaims, I assume trading up to the other side. When I see breakouts again, I assume continuation. That's how I trade. That's how I take high EV bets. I'm always asking myself, where am I wrong? What are my triggers? What are my invalidations, right? So my gut feel for a lot of this uptrend was we are going to come back down here to 88 to 90K, whatever. That hasn't been the case so far, right? If the daily trend is lost again this time, I'm going to assume lower, right? That's just how I'm going to be trading. When we're range bound, I'm going to assume that we're going to be range bound, right? When we're stuck in this range, what did I say last week on CT? Like every day is like, maintain discipline to trade the extremities of price, right? That's so to ask me, like, do you think we'll see 90K again? My answer is just, I don't know, bro. And anyone who's hyper confident and will tell you without a doubt, we're going to go up or we're going to go down is just lying, right? They don't know. They don't know anything. It looks good though, right? When you're hyper confident and then you're correct, you can just farm a whole bunch of clout. Like, you're a genius, right? And that's kind of what the culture shift has been. Bro, is that the H4 100 or 200? The blue one at the top here is H4 100. The bottom one is H4 200. I signed up for the wait list. Cool, man. Good looks. Yeah, I don't think you'll regret it. Let's take a look quickly at Keo. Let's let this load real quick, see what's up. Yeah, it's interesting how quickly the dynamic shifted kind of overnight. Like, when I went, actually, this is more during the day, I think. Yeah, this is like 3-4 p.m. for me yesterday. I didn't think we were going to just slam through these asks, right? But the fact is, like, when we started coming down and all these bids started just appearing, right? More and more and more and more and more. This, like, chase that was occurring this morning. When we get these pullbacks in the mornings, you kind of want to bet on that continuation, right? We're just going to, we have a little bit more up here, right? Dips are going to be for buying. As for now, there's a bunch of advertisements in the market that, you know, participants are willing to buy lower. Will they execute down here? You know, time will tell when we get to these locations. But for now, there's a bunch of advertisement that, you know, interesting parties willing to buy lower. And I think that should support price higher for now. Okay. We did Pepe. Let's do Fartcoin. Thank you guys for being patient. I know everyone wants to know what's the Fartcoin take. So I'm long Fartcoin. I bought a bag down here at 95 at the weekly trend when this kind of broke down. That's the first thing I was looking for, right? It got front run. I was a little bit like, I don't know if I'm going to get my fills. Then we slammed down into this. I got my fills, right? So I got filled at 95, went a little bit underwater. I was hoping that it would actually trade down lower so that I would get more fills around the 70s. That didn't happen. We're reclaiming. Right, we're rounding off at these lows. Like, momentum is waning for the bears, right? The bears had really strong momentum. Their drives lower are getting weaker. Their consolidation is lasting longer. Now we're pushing up into the daily downtrend. We're still in bearish market structure. We still have a daily downtrend. I'm looking at this as chop until proven otherwise. So I think it's constructive that we are bottoming at the weekly trend. Do I think that we can trade back into this again? Absolutely. Right? Do I think that we can get bonked here at the supply? Absolutely. So my bias for Fartcoin is, until proven otherwise, this is the range that you're trading in, right? Acceptance above 130, right? Expansionary candles or trends being flipped, or the 4-hour trend trading above the daily trend flipping back bullish. All of these are signs that continuation is going to occur, right? Holding below the daily 100 will bring first the gap down to the daily 200. Right? Will this be bearish if we're trading at the daily 200? No, I don't think so. I think that's still, once again, great opportunity for Fartcoin, being as the highest mind share coin in the market. 800 million, in my opinion, at this point, does not feel expensive anymore. right? It's interesting how that mindset shifts. I don't think it feels expensive. And I think if Bitcoin goes to new all-time highs and it gets to 120, 130, 140 at some point this year, I believe strongly that Farcoin will make new all-time highs, which makes me want to bet on this coin if it does drop down lower. But from a trading perspective, you're simply trading this range, right? The high EV bets were when daily trend is lost, you're going to get a tag of the weekly. The high EV bet is at the weekly, you're going to get a strong bounce. We got both of those to play out. From here, I don't see a high EV bet other than understand that you are in a choppy regime. You're underneath the daily, you're above the weekly. Resistance is going to be resistance, support's going to be support. Do you want to be chasing the top of this candle right here? Probably not, unless you're trading lower time frames with sharper lower time frame invalidations. You want to be aggressive at the extremities as a bull, right? When it doesn't feel that comfy. But yeah, I have a position from here. I would love to add to Fartcoin. So, you know, I've talked about this with the Paragon homies, but basically just to tell you guys, quick TLDR. If this trades sideways a lot longer and we continue rounding out these lows, I'll probably add to my position, hopefully lower. If we break down, I'm going to add to the stack. Down here, I'll probably size like the fuck up if we get 60s or 70s. And if we trade above, we want to play continuation above like 125, 130, right? This is going to be the kind of expansionary environment where this is going to make big legs up again. But the first step is going to be reclaiming like 125, 130. So yeah, that's where we stand. Any questions on Fartcoin? We'll come back to it. Virtuals, kind of more of the same. I actually think, where's my chart? It's marked up. This one right here. Right, so similar idea. What did I just say on Fartcoin? Similar idea here on virtuals, right? Trading below the daily, above the weekly. Bias down here was trade down to the weekly. We're obviously not getting that, so what's going to be the backup plan? Reclaim the point of breakdown, reclaim high time frame SR, reclaim the daily trend, trade back above, give us a market structure break, and then look to buy dips with your invalidation being daily trend loss once again. Right, that would be the best case scenario for bulls at this moment, is just say, yeah, we front ran the perfect retest, we reclaim the daily, and let's send it from here. If this fails, I'll be looking to buy the weekly. I think virtuals is a good buy down here at 130 if it's ever given. Again, like I'm trying to hammer home for you guys, you know, it's not about predicting. It's about having game plans and trying to position in your high EV locations. Progress is amazing. EMA to PA to order flow. Actually, it was price action to EMA to order flow. Actually, meme.jpg. Yeah, no, but thank you, man. Always continue to learn, dude. Otherwise, people are going to get better than you. What confirmation you look for before taking the trade, whether long-term or mid-term? A lot of time, I mean, for intraday, I'm not looking for confirmation. I'm just looking for ideas to position in locations where I think X, Y, or Z are occurring. So I get a hint, I latch onto that hint, and I take the trade. By the time I get confirmation that I'm correct, that the RR, the EV of that trade is terrible. Similarly with like medium time frame or high time frame, right? If you're looking for like the confirmation trades or whatever, you know, everything can be a trap too, right? Let me give you an example here. So if you're taking a breakout trade, the buy the dipper trader is going to say you're buying a top. You should have bought down here. Why are you buying up here? But the invalidation is simple, right? You're buying a pullback above the daily trend. That's your invalidation, right? So do you have confirmation down at this low that it's guaranteed to bounce? No, you're taking a risk. Right? You understand where you're wrong. You're taking a higher EV bet that support should be support. You're wrong right here. So there's no confirmation of this trade. You know, it's tough to say if I ever trade with confirmation, you know, to be honest. What was the tool that you pulled earlier? This one? This is Kiyotaka. It's a free website. You guys can use it here. I have 2 people on the referral link. Use the referral link. Not that I'm ever going to get anything. Probably never get anything from this, but hey, use it. Lots of edge talk. I'm also edging right now. That's great to hear, Vin. I'm very happy for you. How do you deal with being frozen out of a generational runner that refuses to give you an entry? Just don't care about it. Who cares, bro? There's gonna be another one tomorrow. There's no such thing as a generational runner, bro. There's how many of these have we gotten? There's one of these all the time. There's 50x's and 100x's all the time, and 1% of the 1% of the 1% are actually going to be the legend that buys something at 100k market cap and runs it to 10 billion. Everyone else fucks up the trade along the way. No one is catching generational 1 billion X's, right? There's the dip wheelers, the bonk guys, and the block rays, right? There's not many of them that are actually going to do this. Everyone else is just trying their best to extract some meat of the move. So if you miss some of the trade, like, who cares? Right? I'm barely catching bottoms on anything. Let me give you an example. Pepe, right? My baby. The best trade of the cycle for me so far, right? The strongest conviction, the biggest size, the unwavering conviction that I had in this trade. I bought, wait, I need the MEXC chart that has the most data. Bros? Wait. Did Pepe wick to, wait, what am I looking at? Did this thing wick to 125,000? Is that what I'm looking at here? Prophecy wick. Prophecy wick. What am I looking at? Holy shit. Okay. Distraction. Pepe. What am I trying to say here? I bought this at 100 or something, like $90 million market cap down here when it got listed on MEXC. You guys know Pepe did like 1,000,000x just to get to 100 million market cap. So I didn't let the idea that, oh, this thing's up so much stop me from taking a good trade. Like, sometimes you're going to find something like a thesis, like a fart coin that is up 1,000,000x, and you're just going to submit to the thesis. So I did the same thing with Fartcoin at, I think, the same valuation, to be honest, like 90 million or 100 million, when Ritesh and Bleecker and Sam and Pickle and Agony and all my homies are bull post, and Dogoshi and all my homies are bull posting Fartcoin, and I'm fading them. There was eventually a moment I was like, wait a minute, these guys are right. And I submitted that thesis at like $100 million market cap or something. And it ran to 3 bill. So it was still like a 30x from my buys. This stuff happens in crypto, right? So, there's still going to be opportunity. Probably trading view there happens with a lot of trades. Nah, but this is something else, boys. We need to I don't know. Okay, anyways. Bro, imagine having, like, I know there's not going to be liquidity for it, but imagine having stink bids some ridiculous place and even getting filled for like a little bit. It'd be insane. Can you talk more about seeing bearish price action and cutting a trade early instead of round tripping? Depends on the trade setup you're looking at. Depends on the context of your trade, right? So what's an example? Bearish PA. Consolidation, breakout, failed breakout, retrace back into the consolidation. Terrible, right? What's an early warning sign? Retracing majority of the expansion. Even if you get a bounce from this perfect retest, a lot of this times these end up being lower highs, right? Trailing out on either market structure or trend loss, right? So if you have a trend, you're just kind of betting on the trend. You're betting on the trend. You're not worrying about price action, and you're not even worrying about the clues up here. You're basically mechanically cutting your position on trend loss or market structure break, right? Broke market structure, broke trend. You at least capitalize on the meat of this move. You gave some back at the top. Who cares? You're locking it in. Successful trade. These are really, really good for price discovery or very risk-on moments, right? Those are the two that come to my mind, like off the top of my head. Everything else is going to be like absorption stuff, yaps about the strength of a move and you know, but trends breaking and expansionary candles retracing and high effort moves retracing and not breaking you out. Like there's going to be a bunch of absorption techniques that I talk about a lot to look forward to. But on a simple, you know, trailing and validation basis, like you set up a thesis for yourself of saying something like this, right? Like a Pepe trade. Right? Let me give you an example. You're saying something like, I think this is going to reclaim, right? And, you know, maybe you're taking these lows. Actually, let's pull up a fresh chart and let's mark it up. Right? You're saying something like, I think we're going to hold above this level, right? I think we're going to hold above this level. I'm long from here or whatever. And if we fail, this will probably retrace. Therefore, I can do one of two things. I can either trail my original entries out when I'm getting a failed bullish move up here, right? Failed bullish moves are bearish moves. Failed bearish moves are bullish moves. And that can be an idea for you. That's weakness there. And then what you can do for yourself is say, okay, well, if this fails and we actually do reclaim, there's another trigger for me, right? I have a better setup here. So yeah, off the top of my head, that's some yap on the topic. It's just a visual bug? Gotcha. XRP moving nice. Love to hear it. You know what's funny? I think I haven't seen Livid in a long time. He said he was dealing with some health issues, so hopefully he's okay. But he put this one on my map like 3 months ago or something. I don't even remember. It was like right here or something. And he was basically talking about this trigger if we run this low and reclaim. So shout out to him if he's watching. I'm sure he's printing hard. But yeah, really clean, right? I think one of the best high time frame charts in the entire market. Confirmation in terms of thesis, like the thesis you follow to take a trade, charts, XO, trends, any other market tools. So like you want a full system breakdown. First will come the thesis from price action. Where are we trading, right? Next will be the bias. Should support. If support should support, then price should go boing, right? Do we have any low time frame PA to confirm that, right? First, it's, we're doing this. Do we have any absorption signs? Do we have any market structure break signs? Are we breaking low time frame EMAs? Are we going from a downtrending VWAP to a flat VWAP, right? If in a flat VWAP environment, if we get kind of like a stab at these lows, maybe that's an entry, right? So it's all going to come from like basically high time frame down to low time frame. Location first, high time frame idea, medium time frame idea, low time frame idea, if you want to put it all together, right? The lower the time frame that you go, the more the tools are going to become volume based. The higher time frame you go, in my opinion, the more the tools are going to become like EMA and price action based. That's the way that I, trade my system. Just trying to pick your brain to develop my own strategy. Okay, so the thing that I'll say to you here is that there's no strategy that's better than another, in my opinion, being around for a long time. Take my word when I say this. There's very successful people that only trade candlesticks. They don't even do anything else. There's very successful people that trade diagonal lines. There's very successful people that trade EMAs, SMAs, VWAPs, you name it, rolling VWAPs, whatever, right? What it's going to come down to at the end of the day is not going to be, is your strategy better than another person's strategy? It's going to be, how well can you execute on your strategy and remove errors from it, right? If you can find one simple setup that appears frequently enough for you to action, and you can just simply do that one thing while ignoring everything else, you will still be wrong, right? It's not going to have a 100% hit rate. You're going to still get stopped out. You're still going to get invalidated. But if you can do that one thing, in a disciplined manner, you're going to be much more likely to be profitable than another person. Because while you're doing that one thing, now you can open yourself up to learning new things and be like, okay, I'm 50% success rate on this strategy. And I've noticed that it seems to be that I get stopped out a lot on weekends or in Asia session, or if Bitcoin is in a choppy regime, my strategy doesn't work as well, right? You'll pick up on these hints, and then you'll continue developing and refining your own edge, right? You'll get more data that either helps reinforce your ideas, or you'll pick up on things that are like, this doesn't work in this certain environment, right? So it took me a long time to figure out It's kind of embarrassing in hindsight to even say this, but it took me a long time to figure out that I should only really be focusing on trending strategies when Bitcoin has broken out of a range, right? When Bitcoin is range bound like this, trending strategies on Bitcoin are not going to be as successful. Yes, you may have like a leg in here where a couple trades will appear, but the majority of this is not going to cater very well to that. And that's stuff that you pick up over time. And then you go, well, I'm successful in this regime. I was successful in these months. Maybe I should just stick to these months, and only use this strategy during this certain time frame. And when we're stuck in a range, maybe I should stick to a different strategy, right? And like me, you know, you'll take the off moments where you're like, my S tier setups don't work here. Okay, what tends to work better here? Can I set aside 3 to 6 months to work on that, right? Because I know the S tier is not going to work anyway. So this is learning moments. Like let's start collecting data, right, during these times. Someone bought with 5.5 million all at once and price shot from 20 cents to $3. You're talking about WIF. Yeah, I remember that. As you scaled up your capital over the years, did you find your risk appetite changing? 100%. It takes me, I don't know this. So like, I don't talk to enough traders about sizing. I've talked to Magus about this a couple times, so I know his take on it. But I don't know how well people are at scaling size along with like, you know, scaling risk along with size. Me, it takes me a long time. So if I make a big jump in capital, right? If I'm trading with $100 and I make a big jump to $1,000, I'm going to be trading that $1,000 with the same risk appetite that I was trading the $100 for an extended period of time until my baseline mentality gets so used to this new number. And then the trade volatility of like, I've entered a trade, I'm immediately a little bit underwater, I'm immediately a little bit above, and I see those numbers, and those numbers don't stress me out anymore, right? Then I know, okay, I've successfully adapted, and this is my new framework and my, you know, baseline and whatever. And then I start scaling my capital up, right? It takes me a while. It's not quick at all. Like months, for example. It took me like 6 months in here to get used to my new capital base. And it was very like tough for me in this moment to go all in, right here. But I had to do it. That was my plan. That was what I said I was going to do. And that's what I did. Not easy though. It takes a while. 140 viewers, 44 likes. Yeah, we struggling. All good though. Appreciate you guys if you hit the like button. A lot of people think day trading means you need to be able to do it all, but finding the thing that works for you and repeating it is way more valuable. Yeah, I mean, I learned that the hard way myself, right? I was tinkering with a lot of stuff early on, and I was just like, oh, well, this thing seems to appear multiple times a week, and the idea is very simple, right? And I know when I'm wrong very quickly, and if I'm correct, I'm going to get a decent amount of move or a decent amount of a reaction, right? So I'm just stuck with that. Hi, I want to join Paragon. Do you guys share trades? Sometimes. It's not a signals group. It's not a copy trade us signals group. It's an education first group. And we want to teach you the tools of the trade, right? We want to make you profitable over time. Most groups, in my opinion, that focus on copy trading don't develop profitable traders. They just don't, right? No one learns shit in there. They just try to copy trade their way to success. And I think copy trading is a recipe for disaster, because if I'm trading something and I get a really good entry and then I share it, and price bounces 1% from my entry, and then you're chasing my entry now you've got a terrible RR for your trade. I may end up cutting for break even or cutting for a small win. Now you're cutting for a loss because you didn't get in at the microsecond that I got in on. Right. So I just don't like that vibe. But yeah, I do share trades. The thing that I do in Paragon is I share every single one of my portfolio positions. So if I buy something on spot and I say I have like a 2-week thesis on this, 2-month thesis on this, 3-month thesis on this, I'm sharing it. I have a spot portfolio channel where you'll see the percentage of my capital deployed, right? So you'll know the exact amount of my capital that's in the market at any given moment, what coins I'm picking up, right? Because it's very easy to share daily charts and weekly charts and high time frame thesis. It's not like, it's almost impossible for me to share for you guys scalping. Like, how is that going to happen? because oftentimes I won't know I'm going to get a trigger until the second I see it. And even if I post it 3 minutes later, 3 candles later is probably going to be like a terrible entry. Right? So if I take a trade and I'm like chasing this, right? For example, on the daily VWAP, and I'm like, I have a thesis this morning where if we get a move into the daily VWAP, I shared this on the Outlook this morning in Paragon, and a 50% retrace of this move, I want to be bullish, right? So let me give you guys the exact setup. Right? I said expansionary candle should not retrace to the origin of the move. 50% retrace is the location. That lines up with the daily VWAP. This is a good entry trigger. Now, in real time, I'm not saying like I'm long, right? Because like if I'm long, I'm long. I post it like 2 minutes later, price is up here. Am I going to advise you to take a long up here and potentially go this deep underwater? No. So there's certain times where I share everything. Maga shares everything, but there's other times that we don't. Because like I said, it's not a signal service. Yeah, I mean, it's like share all, Maga said it, share all high time frame plays and share all low time frame plans. Like all plans are being shared every second. Like all day, I'm like updating my thoughts in the analysis channel. I think this, I think that. This is what I'm planning for. This is what I'm planning for price to do next. This is what I'm looking for. This is the trade that I'd like to take, right? And there's a lot of things I share that don't play out. And there's a lot of things that I share that do play out, right? And we execute on the ones that I like when they appear. And we don't execute on a lot of the ones that I don't like when they appear. ETH is ranging in the same way it did last year before the 4K pump. Would you say it's going to stay there until the breakout or breakdown? It doesn't seem to react as hard as Bitcoin dumps, so I struggle to gauge it. Yeah, ETH. Have we even talked about ETH today? I don't think we have. ETH is super simple. It's ranging. Trade it like a range. Do you want to be opening up positions at mid-range? No. If you're long biased, you take longs and you speculate on longs at range low. For me, I looked at this and I said, if ETH is going to hold range lows, what is going to outperform ETH? Pepe is going to outperform ETH. So instead of taking the ETH long, I took the Pepe long. Right? I'm simply treating ETH as a range. I'm not going to speculate on which way it's going to break. Is it going to break down? Is it going to break up? You just take the high EV bets while it's in the range. The same kind of range breakout thesis is, expand above it, either sharp, shallow retrace and continuation, or it's going to form like a little mini consolidation, sweep these lows and continue, right? The same kind of breakout plays that we always use. Or it's using the 4-hour trend here and it's continuing to hold the 4-hour trend and we're getting signals off the 4-hour trend. But making the prediction of like, do I think it's going to break out or do I think I have no idea, man. What I will tell you, we're trading above the daily, we're trading above the weekly. We're trading, I think, above the yearly VWAP, right? So we're bullish on all fronts here. We're holding the lows. We're being more resilient than Bitcoin on breakdowns, right? Last week, you guys saw ETH be incredibly resilient. Solana went to shit. Bitcoin broke down and recovered. ETH just stayed resilient. So maybe some hidden clues, right? And how do you make game plans? You say, okay, if I'm bullish ETH, what's going to outperform ETH and has a clean setup as well? Pepe. Execute on Pepe. Boom, done. Do you share trade ideas in there so the RR problem you mentioned is solved if I know how to execute? Yeah, I mean, I share ideas in there all the time, every day, like literally all the time. I'm sharing trade ideas. We do not public streams, the private streams, and we go over stuff. Like one thing that I find very, what's the right word I'm looking for? Either humbling or exciting is when I give people homework and I say, guys, be prepared for your plans. Like this can happen, and if this happens, what is your plan going to be? And a member, let me actually pull this up and like find exactly what it was. So on like Wednesday stream last week, I got an update from him this morning. Yeah, so Vitoshi, the homework you gave me on Wednesday stream is playing out, right? So we talked about it during Wednesday's stream. He wanted to take a trade on Launchcoin. We went through the setup together. He took the entry, and it's playing out. And I hope he doesn't mind me sharing this, but I'm gonna share it. Right? This is his trade, not mine. But we went through the plans together. And again, as you can see, this is like my system anyways. So, I mean, this stuff for me is much more exciting versus, you know, just running a copy traded server. People actually learning and actually developing skill sets and putting their ideas to use and coming to me when they have like trouble and being like, analyze my trade. What did I do wrong? What did I do right? Any advice you have for this location? What do you think of this setup? What do you think of this setup? Right? And I give you guys my honest thoughts on good, bad, or the other. Crypto is easy compared to stocks if you can plan carefully. Crypto is definitely... Is it easier than stocks? I don't know if I can compare the two. I wouldn't even try to compare the two of easier and harder. I think they're just different games entirely. But the ability to run up a ton of money is definitely way more available in crypto than stocks. Right? Had I been trading the stock market the past few years, I wouldn't have made a fraction of what I made. Can I join Paragon as an analyst? I have a decent record in alt swings and Bitcoin scalps. Interesting question. I like the confidence. Ultimately, that's not going to be up to me. It's going to be up to Magus and Charlie, so I'll leave it there. I don't think, to be honest, I don't think it's going to work like that, right? I don't think you're going to like apply for an analyst position at Paragon. I think it's going to be more of like, we recognize you and we want you on the team, right? It'll be like more of like a recruiting process than a application process. Farcoin looks great, man. Happy with this. Thing about Farcoin that we've seen over the past several months is it leads the market. It leads the market in downside. It's your warning sign that things are going to get a little bit shaky. It's your leading sign for bullishness. If it's showing resilience at the lows, which it did on Thursday, I think this is another really big signal at these lows, is that when Bitcoin broke down, right, and it was trading below here, Farcoin was being resilient. I know it's really silly to think that you know, this could be a leading signal, but it actually low-key is, because it's your risk appetite signal, right? So when the riskiest coin in the market is showing resilience at the lows, it's a big warning sign. What happened over here? You know, this was our March bottom, right? I think on Bitcoin, right? And this is our April bottom. And what did Farcoin do? It set higher lows, right? It was already bottomed in March. It was already trending upwards. It was already trying to flip and hold the daily trend. It was your risk barometer. Thank you. That's a lot of food. My girlfriend just made me lunch. Half Kelly for portfolio sizing. What does that mean? So I start building up my profile. Yeah, build a presence, share your ideas, you know. What made you choose impatience is expensive as your motto? Reminder to myself, my biggest leak, my biggest problem in trades, the biggest thing that was holding me back was my inability to wait for triggers. The reason that I stayed a break-even trader for like 6 months in early 2022, like I had really good ideas. My ideas were playing out. I had really good setups, but I wasn't able to consistently build a portfolio up and to the right. I was scratching myself up. I would take good trades. I would build, you know, some profits, and then I would scratch myself up, you know, just being impatient for triggers. Went through this 100 times. So it was just a reminder to myself that it costs a lot of money to want to front run yourself, you know? Impatience is expensive. It's just turned into the motto. Would you consider adding your spot bags and a retest of the 4 hour of the daily trends for Farcoin, or is that too early to call it in trending market? Let's look at setups. We can look at Farcoin setups. So on the 4 hour, I don't see anything. We have to come to the hourly. All right. So if I wanted to play aggressive continuation on Fartcoin here, first I want this to be cleared, right? I want us to trade into like the 120s, right? If we get a pullback, then I'm looking to defend 117-ish, right? Why? I've got Confluence. I've got well, depending on how this plays out, it may not play out exactly like this. Time, 30 minutes to close in the candle, a lot can change. Let's talk hypotheticals. Hypothetically, we got to move in here. Very strong, right? Maybe not that strong. Maybe this, right? Then we pull back. We've got hourly demand, daily trend, and this thing will probably pop up. We can set alerts or trade idea here to say, I want to see the reaction here. Not only are you going to look at Fartcoin, you're going to look at Bitcoin. You're going to say, is Bitcoin at a place where I think it's going to bounce from? I've got now Bitcoin and Fartcoin confluence. I can take a trigger here and I can play aggressive continuation. That's an immediate kind of trend continuation setup, right? Tons and tons and tons of confluence. Now, what's even stronger than this? Even stronger than this is no perfect retest. We just God candle and expand here. We get a sharp pullback. We start rounding off. Trends catch up. No perfect retest in any location. We look to open positions here and aggressively trade it high. TP1 would be prior highs, not all-time highs, and then TP2 would probably be like here-ish. 134. Now, coming back to your original question, would I pick up spot here? I wouldn't. I would need more of a high time frame signal. So I don't want to try to aggressively position off the 1 hour in here, right? So you got Nelly, you're in Paragon. You already know that I have the position in Fartcoin. I want to add places to add at this point. Let me actually pull up this chart. Places to add at this point. If we pull all the way back down to the weekly, this gives me much better risk definition on high time frame. It's not going to look good. It's not going to feel good. We've got to reclaim some points of breakdown, right? So this is the last up move before the daily trend was lost. We've got to trade through this and maybe look to position here. Again, depending how Bitcoin looks. Where we are right now, it's very tough to make very strong high time frame plans, right? Because you're kind of trading between very significant points. So high time frame invalidation is going to be just too far away, too tough to play. If you're going to want to play aggressively trading, right, those are going to be like the hourly plans and stuff. Thoughts on Floki? Any thoughts on Cookie? These are coins that I don't really care about. I'll look at them for you guys though. Floki, I don't care about at all. Yeah. What is this? Yeah, man. I mean, so let's look at what's happening here. So this is a coin that when Bitcoin went to 60K, traded up here. Put in accumulation. When Bitcoin traded to 100K, we made a lower high. That's already on high time frame looking terrible. When we traded down, we didn't even hold these lows. We traded all the way back down to these levels down here. Is this a coin that looks strong on high time frame? No, it looks terrible. Not a coin that I would be interested in whatsoever. I actually, funny story, had a Floki bag from 2021 cycle. I bought it, I don't know, October, November, December of 2021. My thesis was so stupid. It was like, Elon owns a dog that's a Shiba Inu named Floki, right? And it was like, Doge pumped, SHIB pumped, Floki will probably pump. And I can't remember what my original entry was, but I swear it was like somewhere up here. And this thing went to basically zero. And I forgot that I had this bag because it was like on BNB chain. And a whole lot of time has passed, and this move occurred. And Floki was all over CT again, and I was like, holy crap, I remember I had a bag. How do I find this? So I like went through all my old wallets, found Binance Chain, like figured out that it migrated, I think, to ETH or something like that. Went into their Discord, had someone help me, and they're like, oh yeah, these are where your coins are at. Got those coins, immediately market sold, and then I bought a poo. I sold my Floki here and bought a poo somewhere down here. I forget exactly where it was. But this was like a banger for me. Whatever. But yeah, that's Floki. It just, I mean, there's nothing, unless you want to take trades on this, right? There's nothing really to talk about. I don't think it's going to be an outperformer. I'd be very, very, very surprised if this outperformed on the next risk on rally. What was the other coin you mentioned? Cookie. All right, so I'm assuming there's like an airdrop or brand new coin. Let's see if there's more price history, actually. Okay, there was. I'm glad I looked at that. So when did this pump? This pumped January 10th, so around Bitcoin's, you know, all-time high push. I think this is like Trump Melania weekend, because this is when I moved to Florida. And I was sleeping on a mattress on the floor. No furniture. Well, why am I bringing that up? What does that matter? Just reminded me. Where was I? It doesn't look terrible. Yeah, it doesn't look terrible, right? Big breakdown, reclaimed, reaccumulation, God pump. This expansion candle didn't fully retrace, which is solid. Holding the daily trend. Doesn't look bad. Let's check the 4-hour. I wouldn't position at the top of this candle. If you position off the daily trend, GG, that's pretty decent entry. If this pulls back, you kind of just want to defend the daily trend here, right? There's no reason at this point, this consolidation breakdown, right? So you just want to position close to it if possible. SPX, no. Half Kelly is half the optimally calculated trade size based on the R of a win versus the R of a loss and win percentage. Since the curve is a parabola, half size reduces loss by more than half. See Kelly criterion. Oh, interesting. Okay, you guys are giga smart out here. All right, what do we got? MOG, SPX. Titcoin, I remember you asking about that. I can look at that. Do you understand Grass's price action desync? Okay, so we got a whole bunch of low caps, I assume. Let's start with SPX because I think this one's strong. Oh yeah, giga strong. Not much to say other than seems to be respecting the daily trend. Yeah, it's front running it, but from here, the thing that jumps out to me is that it put in this consolidation. You're getting a really large expansion. You really kind of don't want to trade below here. So it's like 115. So if you get pullbacks, you're hoping that this leads to continual like parabola, right? You're getting stronger and stronger and stronger. You kind of want to run with that. So let's look at the 4-hour trend here. Not a lot of respect for the 4-hour trend, so I can't recommend trading it off that. Yeah, this is gonna be hard. Like this is a coin that like I'm not gonna trade because it's just too, like I can't actively trade this. I can't hourly trade, like hourly 4-hour. It's just too junky, too crabby, too ugly. So like positioning off here has to come off the daily trend. If I really wanted a position on SPX, it would come off the daily trend where the blue lines. Other than that, you know, I don't recommend trying to actively trade it. That's just me. But if you're already in this, congratulations. Looks good. Probably resistance up here. What was the other ones? First time catching the live. Nice. Welcome, welcome. Thoughts on Ether? Char looks similar to ETH. Do you mind taking a look at MOG? Doc, thoughts on harmonics? I don't use them. I don't understand them. I think to me, harmonics are a predictive type of price action. They're predicting that X, Y, and Z are going to occur, and that just simply can't be true. So to me, it doesn't jive with my mindset and how I see markets, and that could just be a failure of my understanding of them. So I'm sorry, I can't add more to that. But yeah, I don't use them. It's not something I recommend to use. But if it works for you, more power to you. So let's look at. I actually have this coin on my here. Krabby reclaiming the lows, holding back into yearly value. Actually, this is not yearly value. This is listing anchored, right? So taking back the listing anchored value area low, finding resistance right at the listing anchored VWAP. Trading above the weekly, trading above the daily. Yes, it is completely crabbing. If it is acting as beta to ETH, then it is going to trade like beta to ETH, right? If ETH performs really well to the upside and breaks out of this range, then ATH will as well. But for now, not much to say. Reclaiming the lows, put in a long-standing accumulation, trading above the daily, trading above the weekly. It looks fine. Hard to position into this unless you get big pukes down here. Sorry, smacked my tit coin. All right, this did a full Burj Khalifa. The only thing you're going to want to see from here is sideways. All right, so I'm assuming the daily trend is bearish. Eventually, this is going to put in an accumulation. It's going to go sideways, right? I don't know how it's going to do this. It's probably going to bonk its head here 1 or 2 times. It'll break out, right? And it'll probably put in another rally. Will it put in new all-time highs? That's all depending on the mind share that this coin continues to hold while it's bad, right? There's been plenty of coins that held tremendous mind share and are still trading down here, man. So this is what happens when you like full Burj Khalifa all the way back to the origin of that entry. Yeah, no more thoughts on Titty coin. You think Doge hits $1? Could. I don't know, man. I'm not a Doge guy. I'm not a fan of Doge. Do I think it hits $1? I don't know, man. Really hard to predict whether it's going to do that. My gut would say no, but I don't know. Anything can happen, but my gut says no. Do you understand grass price action? I know it trades differently. I just don't get it. It makes me furious. Your thought would be... Yeah, I've tried trading grass a few times. I don't like it either. I traded grass very, very well after listing during the first run up in that first range. And then I have not been successful trading this pretty much since. So I did phenomenal until here, right? Obviously buying the listing, selling during this rally. I was selling like the whole way up, rebought the listing anchored, sold at these highs. Like I did really, really well on grass numerous times during this range. Full stack exited on listing anchored loss. I held out hopes that this would hold. And then I kind of just envisioned that like an accumulation like this would form, right? Obviously it formed. I took some trades recently on it when we tried trade and break above this range and hold above the listing anchored, and we put a whole bunch of constructive price action underneath. And then when we broke through, I wanted to be optimistic on it, right? I'm probably going to avoid this coin from here on out, and that may come piss me off later on when I do miss a big rally. But yeah, no real thoughts on it. It's still underneath the listing anchored. It's still not showing risk appetite to trade above 220 and hold above 220. It's still in an accumulation range. Your best bet, I think someone asked me about this way back in this. I said your best bet is just to buy spot and chill, right? And I wish I took my own advice back then and just bought spot and chilled, because that would have been a great entry at the discount part of your accumulation range. and not have to worry too much about this. That would have been a much better thing in hindsight for me to do and listen to my own advice that I gave someone else. Do you think, oh yeah, what else you say? Oh, congrats on 18 months, 11 years here. Hey, congrats to you, bro. 11 years is a long time. I think I'm at the point too where like it's going to end up for me being like 11 years, 20 years, whatever. I don't think I'm going to drink again. I had a lifetime of drinking. I drank since I was like 18, right? Like I partied. I've done everything. Now that it's, you know, the first like 6 months, I was like, oh yeah, you know, it'll be long. I'll get it under control. Maybe I'll bring it back, but maybe I'll drink socially. Maybe I'll have a glass of wine here or there. Now I'm just like, yeah, screw this. I lost the desire. Need Sui? Okay, we look at Sui. Can you look at Charlie's coin? Bert? Sure. Do hype before I end the stream? Of course. So yeah, we'll do these 3 and then we'll wind up the stream. I'm sure you guys know what I'm going to say, right? If it isn't obvious, it's just it's going to be crabby, right? Below the daily, above the weekly, looks crabby. There was a point down here where I thought maybe I'll take a trade on Sui. I decided not to. Yeah, it's crabby between the daily and the weekly. It's going to be the same plans that I gave you guys on Fartcoin. Now I'm going to do something here that's going to piss some of you off, but the other ones that are going to do this will probably be more successful traders than the ones that don't. You guys heard what I had to say on Fartcoin. What you should do to challenge yourself is go back, listen to what I said on Fartcoin, listen to all those plans that I made, and try to make similar-ish plans for Sui. Right? The point of breakdown, supply blocks, reclaims, right? Where to position. All of these things are going to be just as relevant on Sui as they were on Fartcoin. And you can recognize the difference is that Fartcoin is trying to trade above the daily trend while Sui is still trading below. So on a relative strength argument, Fartcoin is stronger than Sui. Bert, I'm assuming this coin looks like nothing, like not great. The most bullish thing I can say is that it's been in an uptrend since our kind of market capitulation bottom, right? It's been uptrending. It's holding, kind of trying to hold the daily. It's getting very crabby, and this is the developing weekly. So let's put on the listing anchor is not going to be the best because this is, yeah. I'm going to ignore this. Basically, what you want from here is these lows to hold, right? This falls apart. It's under threat of just fully retracing back to 10. So good region to like manage, you know, to take a risk managed position on Bert from here in the 26s or 28s, right? Not really up here at 32. Yeah, that's really all I'm going to say. Just keep in mind that if you start trading and holding below like 24, I think it has a full opportunity to like retrace back to 10. And then Hyperliquid, saving the best for last. There is nothing much to say about Hyperliquid other than it gave you kind of the perfect retest of prior all-time highs in the daily trend. This is something that we talked about in the group as well. Like a lot of people are asking in bullish on Hyperliquid, and this is kind of your entry point right here. Right, so if you took that entry, you're sitting pretty. I think this looks fantastic, and until the daily trend is lost, there's nothing to worry about. If you're already positioned on hype at any point, your invalidation's basically trailing out on daily trend loss. You know, that's as simple as that. It's possible that this kind of forms a little bit of a range here before breaking out to the next level, right? And if it does that, you know, and it does anything like this where you deviate reclaim, this is also a really nice signal. But it looks fantastic. Yeah, there's really nothing to comment on Hyperliquid. Is one of the best trends in the market, if not the best, maybe the best trend in the entire market, strongest coin in the entire market. So if you wanted to position on this one, the daily trend would be in the place to do it. Is Charlie's system similar to yours? No. We all, me, Charlie, Magus trade in much different ways, I think. All right, if anyone has any fun questions or anything they want to talk about, I can sit and yap here for another like 5-10 minutes. But I'm going to basically call it there for the you know, altcoin analysis section. What makes you want to teach? Why wouldn't you preserve your edge? So I think my biggest edge is not technicals, it's not indicators, it's my discipline, my patience for my triggers, and my ability to like be curious, gather data, and test new things. I don't share everything. I don't share everything publicly. I share a lot more in Paragon than I share publicly. So also, edge erosion takes a long time because one person, you know, learning from you, or 5 or 10, or even in Paragon like 200, is not enough to erode that edge. It takes a lot of people, and I'm seeing a little bit of that behind the scenes with a little bit of EMA trading. I think, like, my take, I think you guys have heard me say this before, is that EMA trading is going to probably not be that successful moving forward. It's going to be less and less successful in crypto. That's my gut feel, because that thing has been uber popularized this cycle, and one of the most successful strategies. So maybe I could say this: maybe the EMAs that I'm using, right, like the 13, 21, 34, become less relevant, and a different EMA pops up, right, and that becomes more successful. So I think what makes me better than the average trader is my ability to adapt to, right? So, like, you guys have probably seen this yourself, as going from trading trading ranges to trading trends because that's what the market called for, to learning order flow, to scalping because that's what the market called for, right? So I think I have the ability to adapt to environments and metas and learn quicker than my peers, and maintain discipline, right? So it's not all about, like, I don't think edge is this indicator, or this edge is this setup, or this edge is whatever, right? There's little edges that come and go, such as being able to figure out what the market is telling me, right? The edge that I've developed around, like, New York Open trading strategies, right? That's edge. That's not something that, like, was taught to me or anything. That's just from collecting a bunch of data, seeing what works, and then starting to execute on it. But your original question, what makes you want to teach? Teaching wasn't my objective. I never wanted to teach. This is just kind of a natural thing that just sort of happened. It just happened. Like, I was always streaming because it's like a public, not always, but I started streaming because it's just like this public accountability journal. I'm going to come out here, I'm going to share my ideas, I'm going to hear myself talk. Sometimes I'm going to yap and I'll be like, that's a terrible idea, right? And then I kind of reinforces my brain to be like, wait a minute. Do I really believe what I'm saying here? No, that's really dumb. I actually think this is a dumb idea. Same thing with Twitter, right? Just sharing ideas, putting myself out there. This is an idea that I think for a trade. This is what I think is going to happen. And sometimes you look like an idiot, and then you learn from it, right? And then it's all accountability. And I think it's really fun also. I don't do this anymore, but I used to do this a lot, of, like, go back to my tweets from 6 months ago or 3 months ago or a year ago and just laugh at myself and be like, that's such a dumb trade. Why would you take that? Such a dumb trade. I don't do that anymore because I think that kind of era of my trading is over. But actually, I hope that it's not. I hope I look back on, like, these streams 6 months from now or a year from now and go, like, oh, that was silly, right? Like, and because it's just a sign of improving. Tips on how to overcome crypto PTSD. Every time I go spot with clear breakout and all, it retraces to where invalidation is in theory. You got to be better at positioning when it feels more uncomfortable. I think that PTSD is coming from probably opening positions in locations that you shouldn't. So back to the drawing board, ABCs. I think the foundation probably can be improved on your trade selection or your entry execution. So at this point, I'm like, it's a trap 24/7. I mean, it is, right? Like a lot of these things that happen in markets are there to bait you, right? There's little hidden nuances behind the scenes of like, how do you know when acceptance is acceptance? How do you know when a breakout is likely to fail? How do you know when this resistance looks weak or when this support looks weak, right? There's little things that you pick up along the way. There was a time in my trading where I would have been the guy that just blindly longed the 4-hour 200 EMA here on Thursday, right? And with experience and growth, I recognize that, hey, there's something I'm looking for. And if that appears, then I'll long this. Otherwise, I'm not taking this trade. And it was funny to watch positions opening here mechanically. And I was laughing to myself and going, hey, that used to be me. That used to be me doing that. Has edge and EMA trading eroded, or has it been not a good trending environment? A little bit of both. Personally, I think a little bit of EMA edge has eroded over the past year. That's my personal take. I think it's eroded a little bit, and then also trend trading is not going to work as well in a range as it's going to do in an expansionary environment. When Bitcoin's trading in price discovery, trend trading is going to be way better. When it's trading in a range, it's not going to be as valuable. That's not to say you can't use it. Like, ask Pierre his take on this. He streams publicly now, so you guys can ask him his take. He would probably have a much different take than me. He would probably say that, like, because what did I say earlier? That, like, I have the ability to adapt, right? Now, I'm not purely a trend trader. I think a lot of people think of me as a trend trader, but I'm not purely a trend trader. That hasn't been true in a very, very, very long time now, right? In crypto terms, it's been a long time. In real life terms, probably not that long, but in crypto terms, it feels like ages. And I have the ability to adapt to new information, new metas, and whatever. Pierre, being a trend trader, is going to adapt to changes that he sees. He's going to be better suited to adapt and say, this trend is not going to be as viable. I'm going to use this one. This EMA is not working as well. I'm going to use this one. This has been the meta. I'm going to use this, right? Because that's the core of his system. So I think that's a question that you should bring to his attention and get his input on it, because I think he's going to have a different take than me. How much of trading would you say is talent versus skill? No one starts off knowing anything, but some people do have a natural feel for it, just like sports and music. I think I'm lucky coming from a sports background. I learned a skill earlier in life that taught me how to learn. That may sound like it's funny, but like I learned how to learn through sports, right? I learned how to humble myself. I learned when to seek advice. I learned, how to take losses, right? And be in this mindset of growth, and set goals for myself. And along the way, just be like, it's not a big deal. We're learning. We're getting better. We're getting better, right? So I think I'm blessed in that regard. But that doesn't mean that if you'd never played sports, you can't trade. I don't think that's true at all. But it does help. So your question, how much of it is talent versus skill? I think it is very little talent, a lot skill. I think it can be developed and learned. But it'll be longer for some people and shorter for other people. What's funny though? I was talking to Delta about this. He had me on his spaces, and he was asking about like my journey and like how long it took for profitability and stuff. And I told him, I think from the very first time I clicked a button until the time where I said to myself confidently, oh, I can do this, right? Meaning I made money along the way, right? I got lucky. I bought ETH at like $500, not because of skill, not because of talent, mainly because of luck, right time, right place. I bought Bitcoin at 16 or 17K again, not skill or talent, mainly just luck, right? And that helped me build some early capital. But I never considered myself a profitable trader, even though I left that cycle with profit, right? The time where I was like, oh, I can do this was like July or June or some summer month in 2022. That was when I was like, oh, I can do this. Maybe August 2022. Something around that time. Right? So it's quite a bit of time. It's like 2 years or something like that. And I think that he said, his words, where that seems to be pretty average. That seems to be the natural thing that people say. But I mean, I locked in early 2022. That was like, I'm going to do this full time, or I'm going to give my 100% effort into this. That was like Q1 2022, January, even December 2021, January 2022, and that was like 6-7 months of just being fucking locked in. Still took 6-7 months. Bro, you just got to win 54% to be the GOAT. Hey, that's Roger Federer right there. 54% points won in his career. 80% match win, only 54% of the points won. And that's debatably the GOAT. I wouldn't call him the GOAT anymore. He's the GOAT in my heart. Rafa's the GOAT in my heart. I would say Rafa, Roger, then Novak, but there's no way to put them above Novak. Novak's the GOAT, right? Novak's the GOAT, even though I don't want to call him the GOAT, but he's the GOAT. Undisputed. Anyways, gents, let's call the stream there. I appreciate you guys for hanging out with me. I really enjoy these streams, and as long as I'm not burnt out, right? I get to share a lot of stuff with you guys. I don't mind sharing. I actually have fun doing this stuff, especially when you guys ask really good questions that challenge me to give you really good answers. That makes it fun for me. Until next week, I'll see you guys then. If you guys want to check out, Paragon, there's a link in the description below. I'll get you guys like discount codes probably next week. Don't have any right now. If you want to wait for next week, that's probably a better financial decision. But yeah, check out BonkBot. Get on the wait list. Their terminal is pretty fucking cool. I think you guys would be excited, especially if you train on chain. There's a lot of tools there. Anyways, have a good one. Take care.